Welcome to Congress in Context. We're the show that tries to make sense of, well, the often confusing world of government documents.
And today, we're doing a deep dive into the official record for October 10th, 2025.
Right, and this day, it's really something else. We're talking about the 119th Congress first session.
Yeah, get this. The official record shows the House of Representatives met for a grand total of, wait for it, 4 minutes.
4 minutes, and the Senate.
Even quicker, 34 seconds.
Wow, I mean, you could barely clear your throat in that time, let alone legislate.
Exactly.
Right.
But even in those few moments, the documents, they immediately tell you something big is wrong.
Yeah.
There's a crisis happening.
You can feel the tension right off the page.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The very first thing recorded, the opening prayer by Reverend Lisa Wink Schultz, it lays it bare.
What did it say?
It acknowledges, right up front, that Congress was entering the 10th day of a government shutdown.
The 10th day. Okay.
So that context, nearly 2 weeks of shutdown, it just colors everything. Every single action, no matter how brief, has to be seen through that lens.
Okay, so let's try and unpack this very strange day. Despite everything being ground to a halt by the shutdown, some things did happen legislatively.
Some gears were definitely still turning, yeah. The sources show the Senate actually managed to pass H.J. Res. 104.
H.J. Res. 104, and it passed without amendment.
That's right. Now, what's really crucial here is what H.J. Res. 104 is. It's a joint resolution for congressional disapproval of a specific rule from the Bureau of Land Management.
Okay, disapproval of a rule. Which one?
It targeted, the Miles City Field Office Record of Decision and Approved Resource Management Plan Amendment. Pretty specific stuff.
And the mechanism they used, that's important too, right? It wasn't just any old bill.
Precisely. This was done under Chapter 8 of Title 5. That's the Congressional Review Act, or CRA.
The CRA. Explain why using that is significant, especially during a shutdown.
Well, the CRA is, frankly, one of the most potent tools Congress has to push back against the executive branch. It allows them to overturn agency rules relatively quickly with just simple majorities.
So it's a fast track.
Kind of, yeah. And the fact you're using it now while they can't even agree on keeping the lights on tells you something.
What does it tell you?
It suggests that pushing back on certain regulations, in this case about public land, was, well, a higher priority for some key players than actually ending the shutdown on that particular day. Regulatory fights don't stop for funding crises.
Interesting. So that was the big regulatory move. Were there other things that slipped through in those few seconds or minutes?
Yeah, the Senate also managed to pass 2 other resolutions, H.J. Res. 105 and H.J. Res. 106, also without amendment. Less detail on those, but business nonetheless.
And committee work, does that just stop cold?
Not entirely. You know, the long-term stuff keeps chugging along sometimes. We saw a report filed for H.R. 3455.
H.R. 3455, what's that about?
That one directs the Secretary of Veterans Affairs to conduct a big study on using distributed ledger technology in the VA.
Distributed ledger technology, like blockchain.
Exactly. That's what most people know it as, blockchain.
So why is the VA looking into blockchain, especially now? I mean, people hear blockchain, they think crypto, right?
Well, yeah, but the potential uses go way beyond currency. For the VA, think about securing veteran data, managing complex medical records, or even tracking supplies.
Okay, so data security.
Right. Distributed ledgers offer tamper-proof records. That could be huge for things like preventing fraud in benefits, making sure medical histories are secure and accurate, improving the whole VA logistics system.
So even when the government can't fund itself day to day.
The underlying bureaucracy or parts of it are still focused on these sort of long-term operational improvements. It's about maintaining the integrity of the system, even if the funding part is broken at the moment.
That contrast is really stark, isn't it? Future-proofing veteran data while failing to pass a basic budget.
It really is.
Let's pivot to the politics of it all, because the schedule itself feels like a political statement. 4 minutes in the House, and then boom, they designate October 14th through the 19th as a district work period.
Yeah, that's a huge signal. A 4-minute session followed immediately by scheduling a recess, or district work period. What does that mean during a shutdown?
It means they're not sticking around D.C. to negotiate.
Pretty much. It signals a strategic decision, likely by the majority party, to shift the pressure point away from Washington, send the members home.
Why? To face the music from constituents.
Exactly. Let them hear directly from people affected by the shutdown back in their districts. It turns a D.C. legislative fight into, well, a kind of public relations battle fought locally. Put the heat on the opposition back on their home turf.
So less about closed-door deals, more about public pressure.
It's a calculated move.
Yeah.
And you see the pressure reflected in the bills being introduced that same day. Members are clearly reacting to the shutdown itself.
Oh, absolutely. The legislative hopper, as they call it, it was full of shutdown-related ideas, like H.R. 5738 from Mr. Moore of North Carolina.
Right, that's the no budget, no pay kind of bill.
Explain that one.
It basically says members of Congress shouldn't get paid after October 1st if they haven't passed appropriations bills or a budget. It taps directly into public frustration. You know, if you don't do your job, you don't get paid.
Classic political messaging through legislation, and Mrs. Dingell had one too, H.R. 5732.
Yeah, that one aimed to specifically fund the TSA, the Transportation Security Administration, during a shutdown, trying to carve out essential services, keep airport security running regardless.
Protect critical functions. Makes sense.
And then there's HRES 802 from Mr. Moskowitz. I found this one particularly interesting procedurally.
What did it propose?
It would require the House to actually convene and hold recorded quorum calls during a shutdown.
So no more of these 4-minute gavel in, gavel out sessions.
Exactly. It's an attempt to force transparency, make members physically show up, be counted, and, well, maybe feel a bit more heat for the gridlock.
So lots of reaction to the shutdown itself, but amidst all this drama, other stuff is still happening, right? Congress deals with everything.
That's a really key point. The shutdown might dominate the headlines, but the legislative mill keeps grinding on all sorts of issues. We saw H.R. 5740 introduced.
And that was?
Mandatory funding for WIC, the Women, Infants, and Children Nutrition Program, and the Child Nutrition Act. These are huge foundational programs affecting millions.
Definitely essential policy work, and also H.R. 5727.
Yes, a really serious bill aimed at eliminating racial, religious, and other kinds of discriminatory profiling by law enforcement. So deep structural issues are still being debated and advanced.
But then you get the other side of the coin.
Right. Let's call them the more symbolic or partisan measures.
Like HRES 799.
Recognizing former President Donald J. Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize.
Okay. And on the other end of the spectrum?
H.R. 5739. This one proposed blocking federal funds to any state or local government that celebrates Indigenous Peoples Day instead of Columbus Day.
Wow. So you have these essential policy debates happening right alongside these really potent cultural flashpoint issues.
Exactly.
Why does Congress spend time on the symbolic stuff, especially during a crisis like a 10-day shutdown? Isn't that counterproductive?
Well, from one perspective, yes, but from another, it's fundamental to the job, or at least how many members see it.
Yeah.
Introducing bills like these, weighing in on cultural debates, recognizing figures popular with your base, that's all part of constituent service and messaging.
Playing to the base back home.
Pretty much. The official record captures this constant tension, the urgent need for national consensus versus the ongoing demands of partisan politics and signaling.
Speaking of urgent needs, let's look ahead. The record actually tells us what the immediate next step is, right? The potential path out of this shutdown.
It does. The Senate adjourned, but not for long. They set a specific time to come back. Tuesday, October 14th, 2025 at 3 p.m.
And there's a very specific, very important vote scheduled for that day.
The absolute crux of the matter. The record states that around 5:30 p.m. that Tuesday, the Senate will vote on the motion to invoke cloture.
Cloture. Okay, that's a word we hear a lot during Senate fights.
Yeah.
What exactly is this vote on?
It's cloture on the motion to proceed to consider H.R. 5371.
And H.R. 5371 is?
That's the big one, the Continuing Appropriations and Extensions Act. Basically the temporary funding bill designed to end the shutdown and reopen the government.
So this cloture vote is the gateway. Explain the significance. Why is cloture such a hurdle?
Cloture is the Senate's mechanism to end debate, to stop a filibuster, essentially. And crucially, it requires 60 votes to pass, not just a simple majority.
60 votes. In a likely divided Senate, that's a high bar.
A very high bar. So H.R. 5371, the Continuing Resolution, or CR, is the vehicle to end the shutdown. But first, they need 60 votes just to overcome the procedural blockade, just to allow a final vote on the bill itself.
So if this cloture vote succeeds on Tuesday...
If they get 60 votes, the main obstacle is cleared. They can then move towards a final passage vote on the CR, likely needing just 51 votes, and potentially end the shutdown.
And if it fails?
If they can't get 60 votes for cloture, the shutdown continues. They're back to square one. More negotiation, maybe try to find a different bill, but the gridlock remains. That 5:30 p.m. vote isn't just procedure, it's basically the immediate test of whether the government reopens or stays closed.
Okay, so for you, our listeners, if you want to keep track of this critical moment, head over to congress.gov. The bills to watch are H.R. 5371, that's the big continuing resolution, and maybe keep an eye on H.J. Res. 104, the CRA resolution that did pass, to see what happens next with that rule.
Knowing those numbers gives you a direct window into these key battles.
And finally, we always like to touch on the human side of the congressional record, the extensions of remarks section.
Ah, yes. This is where Congress gets personal, you know, completely separate from the shutdown drama. It's where members recognize people and events back in their districts.
What kind of things did we see this time?
Well, you had Mr. Fitzpatrick honoring Cliff and Linda Davis on their 50th wedding anniversary.
Nice.
Mr. Pallone commemorating the 130th anniversary of the Ariel Club, apparently the oldest women's club in New Jersey.
Wow, 130 years.
And a really nice tribute from Mr. Nunn for Sergeant Matthew Tyler Young, recognizing his Marine Corps service.
It's not just people either, right? Institutions get recognized too.
Exactly. There was a piece honoring Colorado Legal Services on its 100th anniversary, a century of providing free legal help.
That's incredible.
And a tribute to Chief Meteorologist Chuck Collins in Central Illinois, retiring after 46 years on the air.
46 years telling people if they need an umbrella. Amazing.
Yeah.
So here's the final thought for you to chew on. We've got this national legislature, right? Tied in knots, failing its basic duty to fund the government, sending members home because they can't agree. The whole thing hinges on a supermajority vote just to talk about fixing it. Gridlock at the highest level. And yet, in the same official record, on the same day, space is dedicated to celebrating a 50th wedding anniversary, the retirement of a local weatherman, the centennial of a legal aid group.
The hyperlocal alongside the national crisis.
So what does that tell you about the job description? Is the primary role of a member of Congress national policy making, solving these huge crises? Or is it fundamentally about being rooted in the community, celebrating local milestones, providing that very personal constituent connection? Something to think about as Congress heads towards that crucial Tuesday vote.
It's a fascinating contradiction, all captured in just, 4 minutes and 34 seconds of official time.
Indeed it is. We'll be back next time to dive into whatever the next batch of documents reveals. Thanks for listening.